Welcome to this video day. It's Saturday, it's September the 23rd. What we're going to be doing today is look at a possible financial crash in global markets. Now, are we going to get a crash? Now, there's an index that is warning that one is getting very close. And also the index can give you an idea of the severity of the crash as well. Now, in relation to the index, it's warned of every major crash in financial markets since the late 19th century. It comes from Dresdner Bank, okay? The index itself is the skyscraper index. Now, why does a skyscraper, and in particular the world's tallest building being constructed, warn of a crash? I'm going to go through why in a moment, and you'll see why the correlation is there, why it's proved so effective over the years. But first, let me just give you some examples. The financial crash of 2008 coincided with the world's tallest building going up at the time, which was the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Can never get that name right. Now, let's go back to the dot-com bubble. World's tallest building, Taipei 101, coincided with the crash in technology stocks. Asian crisis of 1997, world's tallest building, coincided with that. The Petronas Towers. Okay, go back to the 1970s and the stagflation that was around and the recession. What buildings warned of that? Sears Tower and the World Trade Center. Go back to the Great Depression of the 1930s. What buildings warned of the Great Depression? The Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building. Go back to the world's first ever skyscraper at a whopping 272 feet, the Equitable Tower, 1895, warned of a big recession to come, which ensued. Now, skyscrapers, all you've got to look for is the number of skyscrapers on the index, and also look out for the world's tallest building. And you basically got a warning of a crash. Now, if you go and look at the skyscraper index, it's totally out of control at the moment. A crash is getting very close. So why do skyscrapers warn of crashes? I'm just going to give you a short intro clip from a guy who's on my favourite TV programme, Boom Bust, giving a little bit of insight, and then we'll come back and discuss a little bit more detail. And also, in terms of the skyscraper index, it's warning of one country in particular being the catalyst for a crash in global financial markets. Okay, we'll discuss in more detail in a moment. Here's the clip. It's only about 30 seconds long.
Well, the skyscraper curse, it's hard to believe at first, but it's based on this historical correlation between the building of the world's tallest building and an impending economic crisis. And, you know, when I trot this story out and show the history of it, and it's a long history, it dates back into the 19th century, you know, people don't believe it because they can't believe that building anything could possibly cause an important economic crisis. But it's not a cause and effect relationship between the skyscraper and the crisis, but rather it's a third economic force at work that produces both a record-setting skyscraper and a boom-bust cycle that ends in a crisis.
Welcome back after that short clip there. Now, the reason that the skyscraper index has proved so effective over the years is because it represents what's going on in the broader economy, i.e. the optimism about the economic outlook and also the amount of cheap money or credit available. Skyscrapers don't get built because they're economic. They're more ego projects or the result of over-optimism, because the taller you build a building, the less economic it is in terms of its construction cost against its rental cost. So I think the optimum height of a commercial property is probably around 300 feet. Once you get above that, it isn't economic, okay? Now, we noted that 2008 crash coincided with the world's biggest building going up in Dubai. And the building was actually completed slightly after the crash occurred. And that very often happens with the skyscraper index because obviously it takes time to build a big building, and it's conceived when optimism and cheap credit are at their height, and then the inevitable bust occurs. Now, do we have another building going up? It's going to be the world's tallest that could possibly indicate a market crash. We do have the Kingdom Tower going up. It's going to be a mind-boggling kilometre in height, due for completion in just under a year and a half. So if we take the skyscraper index, we should be due a crash. But what's unusual about the skyscraper index at the moment is it's not just one building that's going up that's could be the world's, well, it will be the world's tallest. There's others being planned, to be even taller, like Sky City in China, for example. Now, the sheer amount of skyscrapers being built is huge. It's going on all over the world. One country in particular stands out. China already got 500. The 100 skyscrapers under construction at the moment, 53 are in China. Now, if we take that, skyscrapers are an indication of the peaking of the economic cycle. Has the economic cycle peaked? Now we're going to see a crash. Well, what we've got to keep in mind is we are seeing the tap of cheap money being turned off. The Fed have moved to reduce their balance sheet. That's taking cheap money out of circulation. You've got certain central banks like Canada, for example, raising rates. You've got banks that are involved in stimulus, not just the Fed. Let's take the ECB, who are basically going to have to wind it down. They're running out of bonds to buy. So the actual cheap money credit cycle has peaked. And in terms of the skyscraper index, if you go and look at it, it's pretty frightening. Not just the world's tallest building going up and maybe more following, but the sheer amount of skyscrapers that are under construction. Now, in terms of the global economy at the moment, we know that obviously debts are the biggest in history. We've got very anemic growth, despite all that money being pumped into the global economy. A crash is probably going to come. Now, my own view is, a property crash could trigger a stock market crash, and it's China's property market which is the big danger. It's not just skyscrapers they've been building. They've been just building for the sake of building. They've been doing it since 2008. Ghost cities with no one that lives in them. Huge amounts of commercial property that just lie vacant. Many of these skyscrapers they built, there's just no one in them. Okay, and I think if you're looking for a potential catalyst for a crash, it could come from China. I've said this in other videos, but in terms of skyscraper index, it hasn't been wrong about a major crash and recession at all. Now, it can't give you obviously the exact date of when the crash might come, but it's been highly accurate over the years. It clearly signals a downturn in financial markets is coming, and it's going to be a big one. I find the skyscraper index actually really interesting. It's worth having a look at it. It is quite frightening at the moment, but I think as traders, obviously, if we do get a financial crash, we'll obviously try and make money out of it. And people who aren't traders can protect themselves or their investments against it. Now, just to finish up with one quote, Janet Yellen of the Federal Reserve saying a little while ago that she, quote, didn't expect to see another financial crisis in our lifetime? Well, the skyscraper index is telling us it isn't far away, and it's going to be a massive crisis. Hope you found the video enjoyable. Thank you very much for watching me as usual. Take care. Have a good day.